After fixing a stranger's broken-down truck, 3 mysterious SUVs revealed a life-changing secret. Jake had always been a man of the tools, grease-stained hands and a heart full of grit. But today felt different. The fading sun painted the sky in shades of gold and orange as he drove home, the weight of generations pressing down on his shoulders. He glanced at his family's struggling mechanic shop through the windshield, its worn sign struggling against the breeze. Then, just a few miles down the deserted road, he spotted her, a woman with tangled emotions etched on her face, stranded beside a broken-down truck. His chest tightened. He knew that look, it was desperation. As he pulled over, his heart skipped a beat. Timmy, her young son, was looking up at her, worry gleaming in his innocent eyes. Discovering a single mother in distress stirred something deep within him. Jake climbed out, his hands itching for the familiar tools, the engine oil, the nuts and bolts that defined his life. "Need a hand?" he asked, his voice steady. Lisa nodded, relief washing over her features. "I'm Lisa, and this is Timmy," she said, her voice soft, but Jake could hear the cracks. As he got to work, he stole glances and quickly saw the shadow of resilience behind her tired smile. They swapped stories. He spoke of his legacy, the shop that felt like a ghost of the past, while she shared memories of her father, a veteran whose presence still loomed as large as a mountain. Their laughter occasionally cut through the tension, a shared longing for hope mixing with the grease and metal around them. Before they knew it, their connection was blooming, igniting a spark that felt electric. Just then, 3 shiny black SUVs glided up the road, engines humming like predators. The vehicles stopped, sleek and imposing, drawing their gazes like moths to a flame. Inside, suits stared out, eyes cold, intrigue lingering in the air like smoke. Jake's gut twisted. They were the kind of people who turn dreams into commodities. A murmur rustled through the trees, whispers of potential corporate takeover echoed in Jake's mind, darkening the sun's warmth. The very town where he bled for his family's legacy was on the brink of being snatched away, and now, possibly even Lisa's heartache came with strings attached. Heavy with urgency, he thought of how the town thrived once upon a time. It could still thrive, if they fought together. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Fear crept into Jake's heart, the looming presence of corporate giants breathing down his neck. Lisa caught his eye. Her expression reflected a shared resolve. They had to protect what was theirs. But with uncertainty whispering doubts in their ears, could they truly rally the townsfolk to oppose the sleek promise of wealth and opportunity? Jake felt the familiar knot of emotion tighten, knowing that this could tear them apart or bring them closer than ever. As they gathered the townspeople, another unexpected face drew Jake's stare, a face from his past, haunting and familiar, challenging everything he thought he knew about the struggle ahead. The stakes had just skyrocketed. What was the truth hiding beneath the surface of this tangled web? Jake could feel the weight of the moment pressing in on him, louder than the rumble of engines in the background. The evening sky darkened, shadows creeping from the trees, as familiar faces spilled into the clearing, drawn by whispers of what was happening. Each one carried a piece of the town's heartbeat, a history tangled with both triumph and struggle. He stood before them, Timmy peeking out from behind Lisa's legs, their innocent worry adding to the gravity of the moment. "Folks," Jake began, his voice steady, though his heart raced. "We've got a problem. Those SUVs," he gestured towards the sleek vehicles idling nearby, "they're here to take away everything we've built." His words hung heavy in the air, a palpable tension binding their collective fears. Lisa reached out, providing silent support. He caught her eye and felt a rush of determination. "I know times are hard. I know we're all struggling, but if we don't stand together, we'll lose our homes, our livelihoods, everything our families worked for." The crowd murmured, unease mixing with hope. Ron, a burly man with a face roughened by years of labor, stepped forward. "You really think they can just come in and take what's ours?" His voice was gruff, filled with skepticism, but Jake could sense a flicker of interest, a yearning to believe that they could fight back. "They can try," Jake said, emboldened. "But together, we're stronger. We can show them that we'll do whatever it takes to protect our town." The words began to flow, visions of solidarity igniting the air. "Each of us has a story, a reason to fight." He glanced at Timmy, who looked at him wide-eyed. "For our kids, for our futures, are we really going to let them come in like this?" A spark ignited in the crowd, murmured agreements floating through the night air. Someone shouted, "We stand with you." Others followed, voices lifting in affirmation. Yet, across the clearing, the ominous black SUVs lingered waiting. The drivers remained silent, their suits the color of storm clouds, and Jake could feel the tension swirling in the atmosphere. As they turned their gazes to the outsiders, an unsettling sensation crept down Jake's spine. Who were these people, really? And what lengths would they go to silence them? Suddenly, the lead SUV's door opened, and the air thickened. A figure stepped out, tall and confident, dressed sharply, eyes hidden behind dark sunglasses. Jake's heart skipped. There was something familiar about this person, something unsettling. He exchanged wary glances with Lisa, who turned to him, her expression mirroring his distress. "Jake, do you know who that is?" she whispered. Before he could respond, the figure approached the crowd, the sound of their footsteps echoing like the ticking of a clock, each stride tightening the tension wound around them. Jake took a breath, the weight of uncertainty coiling in his gut. This wasn't just about their town anymore, it was about his past, a confrontation with a decision that changed everything. As the figure drew closer, Jake's heart thudded louder. What did this person want? "You're all gathered here for a reason," the newcomer said, voice smooth like silk but laced with an edge that sliced through the air. "But some truths are better left buried." Jake's pulse quickened. What could they possibly uncover? And more importantly, would it destroy the fragile unity they were just beginning to forge? The moment was spiraling, and Jake knew it was only the beginning. Did he have the strength to face the shadows of his past, or would they engulf him and everyone he cared about? As the crowd braced for the unexpected revelation, the air crackled with tension, and Jake realized that their fight was just starting. The figure stood tall, the dimming light casting an ominous shadow that stretched towards Jake. The crowd had fallen silent, a collective breath held in anticipation. Jake's instincts screamed at him that this was a pivotal moment, one where everything could go sideways. "Who are you?" Jake demanded, his voice steady despite the storm brewing in his chest. The crowd shifted behind him, a sea of anxious faces readying for confrontation. The stranger removed their sunglasses, revealing piercing blue eyes that seemed to slice through the tension. "My name is Daniel," they said with a calm that contrasted harshly with the turmoil surrounding them. "And like you, I'm here to fight for what's right, but you should know that your past is tangled with mine in ways you can't imagine." Jake's heart raced. A past he had buried deep, filled with regret and loss. Had it come back to haunt him in the form of this person? The whispers of the crowd grew louder, a mix of confusion and concern, but Jake held a hand up silently to keep them back. He needed to understand. "What do you mean? What do you know about my past?" Jake felt the heat rising in him. Who was this stranger with the answers to his history? "More than you think," Daniel replied, confidence unwavering. "Remember the night the old mill burned? It wasn't just an accident." Their eyes locked, and Jake felt the ground shift beneath him. That night had always been a dark mystery wrapped in guilt. "I was there," Daniel continued, each word deliberate, punctuating the gravity of the moment. "I saw things I shouldn't have. Our lives have always been connected." Jake clenched his fists. Memories flooded back, fragments of late-night conversations, the closing of that mill, the arguments whispered in shadows. He had tried to move forward, to wash away the past, but here it was, clawing its way back into his life. Why now? He asked, struggling to keep his voice steady. Why show up with your fancy SUVs and make threats? Daniel stepped closer, lowering their voice. Because if they take this town, they'll dig deeper. They'll unearth everything, the truth behind the mill fire, the corruption in our town. You know it too. And if we don't join forces, we'll be powerless to stop them. The crowd murmured, glances passing between one another and then back to Jake. Was this stranger truly offering him a lifeline, or was it a trap? Anger bubbled within him, but so did a flicker of hope. Could he trust this revelation? He stole a fleeting glance at Lisa, her eyes wide, as Timmy clutched her hand. Silence reigned over the gathering. Jake had to make a choice. He took a step toward the figure before him, the weight of the moment pressing heavily. We're standing together. Whatever it takes. But if you're here to help, you better tell me everything. A spark of something flickered in Daniel's eyes, a look of respect mingled with urgency. Then come with me. I have more to show you. Jake thought of his town, his family's legacy hanging on the edge of this moment. They were ready to fight, but did he have the courage to face the past? As he turned to the crowd, ready to lead them toward an uncertain future, a sudden rumble echoed behind Daniel, drawing everyone's attention back to the SUVs. They began rolling forward, engines revving, as a figure appeared in each windshield. Faces and voices Jake had never wanted to confront again. The unease grew palpable. Where would this path lead? Would confronting the past help them, or would it tear apart everything they had worked so hard to protect? Jake, Lisa whispered, fear creeping in. What is going to happen now? He looked back at Daniel, their eyes meeting once more, a silent agreement passing between them. The fight was just beginning, hinting at drastic choices that would change everything, but in that moment of quiet, he felt a gut-wrenching uncertainty. Could they truly defeat what was coming, or was this a maze leading straight to despair? And as the SUVs drew nearer, he knew answers were waiting, but so were dangers he had long tried to forget. The roar of engines cut through the thick tension hanging in the air, a sound that vibrated in Jake's chest. He took a deep breath, heart racing. The SUVs were advancing, dark metal moving like shadows, and each face that loomed in the driver's seat felt like a mirror reflecting a past he wished to forget. What now? Lisa pressed, her eyes darting between the vehicles and Jake. Her grip on Timmy's hand tightened, and he could feel the anxiety radiating off her. Stay behind me, Jake replied, his voice steady but laced with urgency. He turned to Daniel, who stood resolute beside him. What are they doing here? Daniel's eyes flickered with a mix of understanding and dread. They're here to intimidate, they explained. But it's more than that. They're trying to send a message. Jake squared his shoulders, glancing at the crowd, still buzzing with uncertainty. What kind of message? Fear, Daniel replied, voice low. They think if they can scare you all into submission, they'll have free reign over this town and everything that comes with it. Jake's jaw clenched. Memories of the mill fire, the whispers of wrongdoing, echoed through his mind. The very idea that those responsible could thrive while the remnants of his life crumbled felt like a betrayal, a knife to his gut. We can't let that happen. We need to show them we're not afraid. A choice loomed before him, lead with fear or with resolve. There was an energy in the air, a shared pulse of defiance. Mirroring his thoughts, Daniel nodded slowly. You're right. But they won't back down easily. We need to be smart. As the SUVs rumbled closer, Jake struck a quick decision. Okay, listen up. He shouted, his voice cutting through the crowd. If they're here to threaten us, let them know we're not backing down. We stand together. A murmur of agreement rippled through the people behind him. Lisa squeezed his arm, giving him strength. Yes. Let us show them we won't be silent. Before Jake could continue, a door swung open from the nearest SUV, and a figure stepped out tall, muscular, with an air of arrogance that made Jake's skin crawl. It was Carter, a face he could never forget. It had been years, but the smirk had remained the same. "Jake," Carter called out, arms crossed, confidence dripping from his every word. "What's all this? You think you can rally these folks? You're making a big mistake." Jake felt a spark of anger ignite within him. "And you think you can bully us without consequences? You'll find out just how wrong you are." Carter's smirk faltered for a heartbeat, replaced by a flicker of surprise. The sound of an engine revving drew his attention back to the SUVs as the second door swung open. More figures emerged, each more intimidating than the last. They were clearly a team, and their intentions felt malevolent as they eyed the crowd. "Jake, we need to go now," Daniel urged, turning to him with an expression that said they were outnumbered. "They're not just here to talk." But Jake shook his head. "I won run. Not this time. If we leave now, they'll think they've won." Daniel opened their mouth to protest, but Jake cut them off. He felt a surge of determination, a force of years of frustration boiling over. "I can't walk away again. Not from this." The crowd was waiting, a restless sea of shared history and suffering that bonded them. They had seen things, the injustices, the neglect, and it added fuel to Jake's resolve. He scanned the faces in front of him. He knew each one had a story, a reason to stand firm. As the tension rose, anticipation electrified the air. Whatever was coming next, they would face it together. Just as those dark figures began to move, something struck Jake. What if confronting them wasn't just about fighting? What if the truth lay buried in all the dark memories he had avoided for too long? "Wait!" he shouted suddenly, his voice ringing out as he stepped closer to the advancing figures. "Let us talk." Carter stopped and raised an eyebrow, obviously intrigued. "You think words can save you now?" "I think they can uncover the truth," Jake responded, heart pounding. "And it's time we all faced it." The tension shifted, eyes darting between Jake and the oncoming challenge. Each breath felt monumental, shaping the course of what was to come. This was the point of no return. What awaited them in digging deeper? What secrets lay within the wreckage of that fateful night? Jake felt a weighty silence settle as he prepared to uncover the truth, one way or another. Jake's heart raced as he stood his ground, feeling the eyes of the crowd on him like a warm blanket and a heavy weight all at once. He swallowed hard and took a cautious step forward. "I'm not afraid of you, Carter. We all know what you did, and it's time we talked about it." The crowd stirred behind him, emboldened by his words. Whispers lined the edges of the group, gathering strength like a rising tide. Lisa squeezed Timmy's hand tighter, glancing up at Jake with a mix of fear and pride. Her breath caught in her throat, but there was a flicker of hope in her eyes. Carter's smirk faded. "You really think the truth is on your side? You don't know what you're messing with, Jake." He gestured menacingly to the hulking figures behind him. They loomed like shadows, arms crossed, eyes cold, each one adding weight to Carter's intimidation tactics. But Jake pressed on. "You're right. Maybe I don't know everything. But I do know that you've been terrorizing this town for far too long. For years, we've kept silent. You've hidden behind your power. But today? The silence ends now." The SUV engines rumbled, but now it wasn't noise out of fear, it resonated like a warning bell. A few of the townsfolk murmured defiance, voices lifting to join Jake's. "Let us give them something to be afraid of," Daniel whispered under their breath, but there was newfound resolve in their tone. They took a step closer to Jake, strengthening his stance. Carter shifted on his feet, unease flickering across his sharp features. "You think you can take me down with a few brave souls, huh? It's cute." He took another step forward, almost daring Jake. "Do you even know what's at stake?" "I know enough," Jake responded, his voice steady. I know lives were destroyed, families torn apart by your greed. And I know people are suffering because of people like you. His gaze swept over the crowd again, fixing on the men and women who had come to support him. You're not a king, Carter. You're a coward. Something inside him ignited at those words, fueling his courage. He took another bold step closer, ignoring the pulse of fear in his veins. The world around him narrowed down to just him and the man who haunted his past. I want to uncover the truth. Not just for us, but for everyone who suffered in silence, Jake said, every syllable echoing with purpose. The crowd was pushing forward now, emboldened by his passion. Carter paused, the challenge in Jake's eyes registering. You think you can make me talk? You're a fool. But Jake stood firm. Maybe, but I'm a fool with a truth that needs airing. You can throw fists, but how about we start with words? Let the town hear what you have to say about your failures, your crimes. Let us shine a light in the darkness. An eerie silence hung in the air, weighing heavily. Jake looked around, seeing the expressions of determination surfacing among his neighbors. They were ready to fight back, ready to confront whatever lay ahead. Then, from the back of the crowd, a voice rang out. We want answers, Carter. Another joined in. Yeah. We deserve the truth. Momentum built in waves. What began as murmurs evolved into solid shouts, melting the fear that had once paralyzed them. Carter's expression hardened as he shared a look with his team. The menace crackled in the air. You think this is a game? I want to let you ruin what I've built. But maybe it's what you've built that needs to be torn down, Jake countered, a spark of defiance lighting his veins. You can't control this town forever. We are stronger than you think. In the narrowing space between them, the tension coiled like a spring, ready to snap. The SUVs felt like monsters waiting to pounce, but the real battle was unfolding within a few daring souls who refused to be coerced into submission. Suddenly, Carter scoffed, looking back at his crew, and Jake held his breath, nearly feeling the collective heartbeat of the crowd syncing with his own. Fine, Carter finally said, a sinister grin creeping back onto his face. Talk it out. But know this, every word you say can be used against you. As the crowd looked on, breath held and hopes rising, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that while they were uncovering buried truths, they were also awakening an ancient darkness that refused to stay silent. What answers would emerge? Would they be prepared for the fallout? The moment crackled with anticipation, but Jake knew this was only the beginning. The truth may change everything, even his understanding of the past. But would it lead them to liberation or destruction? The stakes had never felt higher. Jake felt the weight of the crowd pressing in. Their faces mirrored his anxiety and determination in equal measure. He glanced around, noticing familiar figures, friends, neighbors, all standing together, united for the first time against a common enemy. It was powerful, and the energy buzzed like electricity. Carter stepped closer, the smirk still hanging on his lips, but now it seemed less confident, more desperate. You want answers? Fine. But we both know people don't always handle the truth well. Think carefully about what you wish for. Jake held his ground, determination raging like a fire in his gut. I wish for justice, he said firmly. For my brother, for all of us. We've spent too long hiding from you. The crowd surged forward, backing him, drawn by his passion. Each chest filled with hope, a collective heartbeat echoing in defiance. Lisa shouted, no more secrets. We deserve to know. Carter's grip on his composure slipped, his menacing demeanor flickering. You think I'm the monster? You have no idea what lurks in the shadows when you start digging. These streets, they're safer with the likes of me around. Safety? Jake's heart pounded with the contrast. Could they still afford to trust an enemy? The rumors, the whispers of missing people and broken lives, the stakes were growing higher every second. Safer? Jake took a step forward. You mean under your thumb? We want a future where we don't have to live in fear of you and your goons. A low murmur rippled through the crowd, voices rising stronger, braver. The sense of unity surged like a tidal wave. We want freedom. Someone shouted. Others echoed the sentiment, a brave chant of defiance filling the air. Carter's eyes narrowed, a flicker of darkness breaching his facade. You're making a mistake. The last thing you want is to awaken what's been sleeping. What do you mean? Jake challenged, unwilling to back down. Carter sneered, the menace returning. If you think the truth will set you free, you're more naive than I thought. But fine, ask your questions. I'll answer for now. Don't say I didn't warn you when this all comes crashing down around you. Jake's thoughts raced as he struggled to contain the surge of emotions within him. It felt like the moment hung suspended in time. This wasn't just about confronting Carter anymore, it was about confronting the darkness that crept through their town's history. They were ready to break the cycle, but would the truth prove to be liberating or sacrificial? What do we even know? Someone called from the back, uncertainty creeping into the air. Jake thought of the lives lost, the stories that had never been told. He focused ahead. We know enough. We know we've been silenced long enough. He looked around at the faces in the crowd. And we're tired of listening to his lies. Carter laughed, an unsettling sound that slipped like ice through Jake's veins. Good luck believing that. Haven't you learned yet? Some truths are better left buried. A chill brushed over Jake, but he pressed on. You think inside you can threaten us. But we have each other. We're not afraid anymore. The shouts rose again, spilling out from the crowd, a growing wave of emotion. We're not afraid. They were standing with him, resolute. Every moment they held this space twisted the air into something fragile yet fierce. Carter's bravado began to crack as he looked around at the growing resolve. Something in the man's stance shifted, like the shadow of uncertainty clouding over his confidence. We'll see how brave you are when the truth comes knocking, Carter said, narrowing his eyes in a warning. Jake took a breath, the anticipation slicing through him. Let it come. We're ready. As the crowd erupted in agreement, that collective spirit shining brightly against intimidation, Jake felt a flicker of something else, fear yes, but also hope. Would this be the moment they truly broke free? Beneath the bravado and the confidence, a nagging feeling tugged at Jake's mind. What truth was Carter holding on to? And what would they discover when that darkness finally met the light? The questions haunted him, swirling around as he prepared for the confrontation ahead. Jake's heart drummed louder as the air thickened with tension. They were standing on the edge of something monumental, teetering as the truth promised to tumble into view. What shocking secrets would they unearth? And could they withstand the storm that followed? The air pulsed with energy, the crowd's collective breath held tight as Carter regarded them, a shadow of doubt creeping into his eyes. Jake's heart raced, gnawing at the edges of his courage as he weighed every word that could shatter the silence, every question that could pry open the festering wounds of their buried history. Tell us about the disappearances. He commanded, voice steady despite the shivers running down his spine. Carter rolled his eyes, masking his unease with a scoff. You think it's just me? You think I'm the puppet master of your misfortune? You're blind to what happens in the dark. His voice dropped, deepening. The true monster is not me, it's what binds us all to this place. Jake's fists clenched at his sides. Then let the truth out. What binds us? What are we afraid of? You've created this fear, Carter, now show us your cards. A soft yet desperate cry rang out from the crowd. We deserve answers. It echoed like an arrow through the palpable tension, bolstering Jake's resolve. This isn't just about you anymore. This is our home. The crowd surged again, energy fluttering like a flame. Jake scanned their expressions, a mix of anger, hope, and anticipation. Each face reflected the quiet determination that sparked from deep within. We are stronger together. We'll break free from whatever you're hiding. Carter's smirk broke briefly as a nervous laugh bubbled up. You think the light will save you? You're not ready for what that brings. Try us. Lisa shouted, stepping beside Jake, her voice steady. You underestimate us. We don't fear the truth. In that moment, Jake felt a surge of unity, a warmth spanning through the crowd. It was infectious. He wasn't just fighting for himself anymore, he was fighting for every person who felt the weight of fear on their shoulders, for the families left in the dark, yearning for their loved ones to return. Then listen carefully, Carter warned, his tone suddenly serious. People in this town are connected in ways you don't understand. Innocents caught in a web of secrecy with me at the center. A murmur of confusion rippled through the crowd. What do you mean? Someone yelled back. Carter straightened, demeanor shifting like a man who had found a new stage to play. I control the truth because I know the secrets everyone harbors. The very lives you seek, some of them were never meant to be found. Our histories are tied, forged in ways none of you dare contemplate. That's what I mean by safety. Jake's stomach twisted. What are you saying? But before Carter could respond, a loud crash echoed from behind them, a sound like thunder breaking through the tension. Everyone turned, and Jake's heart dropped. Two black SUVs lurked at the edge of the crowd, engines idling ominously. What is this? Jake felt the weight of the moment shift. It wasn't just talk anymore, it was action. Carter's smirk returned, cold and knowing. Looks like truth is on its way, he said, gesturing to the SUVs. Jake's head spun as shadows emerged from the vehicles. Familiar faces he hadn't seen in years stepped into view. People he thought had vanished. Mom? Ben? The words slipped from his lips in disbelief. Gasps filled the air, shock rippling through the crowd like a live wire. Who had been hiding out there? Why were they here now? Are you ready for the truth? Carter sneered, locking eyes with Jake. As Jake's knees threatened to buckle, a harsh reality settled over him. They were not just fighting Carter anymore, they were on the brink of a revelation that could change everything. Could these faces bring hope or despair? Would they help lift the veil or plunge them deeper into chaos? The storm loomed, and the eye was right at their doorstep. What truths hovered just outside the darkness waiting to step into the light? Jake stood frozen, heart pounding like a drum in his chest. His mind raced, struggling to comprehend the sight before him. Faces that had haunted his dreams materialized from the shadows, bringing both hope and despair. They were his family. They were supposed to be gone. Mom! He shouted, voice cracking. The crowd split like the Red Sea, revealing the figures behind the vehicles. His mother, her hair slightly grayed but her spirit unchanged, stepped forward, eyes filled with a mix of fear and joy. Jake, her voice was soft, trembling with emotion. I can explain. Explain? How can you just show up after all this time? The bitterness in his tone gripped him like a vice. He felt the warmth of collective eyes on him, expectation heavy in the air. Carter chuckled, a sharp sound that cut through the tension. You see? The truth is never straightforward, is it? Ben, his older brother, moved closer, glancing at the crowd. We didn't mean to hide. We had no choice. Behind them, the crowd murmured, skeptically scanning the scene. People were torn between relief and suspicion, facing the ghosts of their past. What's happening? A voice from the back called out. Carter took a step forward, eyes gleaming with satisfaction. What's happening is a reckoning. You're reckoning. All of you should know by now, your fates are intertwined with his. He gestured toward Jake. Stop! Jake shouted, feeling a mix of anger and desperation. Stop using us as pawns in your game. Just tell us the truth. His mother took a breath, steadying herself. Jake, we never wanted to disappear. We were trying to protect you. There are things you don't know, things about this town. Protect me? Jake scoffed, sarcasm laced through his words. You've spent years hiding, and now you want to protect me? It's more complicated than that. Ben interjected, frustration bubbling beneath his calm exterior. Carter knows things. Dark things. Things about our family and about this town. The crowd shifted, confusion mingling with curiosity. Tell us. Someone shouted. What do you know? Carter's grin widened, relishing in the chaos he orchestrated. You want answers? I'll give you answers, but they come at a price. Are you ready for the price? Because knowledge can scorch as much as it illuminates. Shut up, Carter. Lisa's voice rang out fiercely beside Jake. You think you can keep playing us against one another? We want to hear from them, not you. Jake felt something crack inside him, a longing for connection fighting against the weight of bitterness. He looked at his mom and Ben again. What is it, then? Tell me. What are you all hiding? Their eyes darted between each other as if weighing the decision to share their truth. The silence stretched, thickening the air, as they deliberated under the watchful eyes of the crowd. Finally, his mom spoke, her voice breaking. There's a history of darkness in this town that ties us all together. It was never just vanishings. We were part of something bigger, something dangerous. Carter nodded slowly, reveling in the unfolding drama. You see now? These ties will soon bind you all together as well. This isn't just about your family, it's about every single soul in this town. Stop dancing around it. Jake shouted, desperation creeping into his tone. Tell it like it is. Carter leaned in, almost whispering. Because soon enough, everyone will discover the real monster. As if on cue, the wind howled through the crowd, stirring uncertainty and dread. Jake's breath hung heavy in the air, the gravity of looming revelation staining the atmosphere. What lies would be uncovered? What truths lay dormant, ready to ignite? Would he ever truly understand the full depth of the darkness that bound them all? The storm was brewing, they were at the precipice of an unfathomable truth, and it was about to rain disaster or salvation. Could he bear the weight of what was to come? Jake, listen to me, his mom said, her voice trembling under the weight of their shared past. She took a step closer, urgency reflected in her eyes. We hadn't vanished for ourselves, but to keep you safe from a threat that has lurked here in the shadows for generations. The crowd hushed, anticipation hanging solid in the air. Jake searched his mother's face for any signs of deceit, but the fear flattening her brow felt achingly real. He could feel the crowd's gaze dart between them. Whispers simmered at the edges of the gathering, casting uncertainty like a dark shroud. What do you mean, a threat? Jake asked, each word heavy with disbelief. What could possibly be so terrible that you had to disappear? Ben stepped forward, frustration boiling in his voice. It's not that simple. We were involved in something we couldn't control, something way beyond us. There are powers in this town, and they don't tire easily. They find their targets. And you think that's why you had to hide for so long? A voice from within the crowd echoed, a mix of suspicion and curiosity. Yes. Ben replied sharply. And we thought we were protecting you by staying away. But we were wrong, and it's come back to haunt all of us. His mother wiped away an errant tear, her resolve vibrating with raw energy. What you need to know is that this isn't just about our family. This darkness, it's woven into the fabric of this town. It has taken many, and it won't stop until it gets what it wants. Carter's laughter sliced through the air again. A compelling story, isn't it? But how can you be sure they won't just fall victim to it again? You've been living in fear for years, and what has changed? Jake felt his heart race, the tension thickening. The resentment surged, fighting the need for family. Carter, shut up. He shouted, his voice cracking under the strain. This isn't your moment. You're loving the drama too much. Am I? Carter grinned, unfazed by Jake's animosity. Just think about it for a second, kid. Everything you thought you knew your entire life might not be real. Your mother and brother can't protect you anymore because whatever is out there is already here. A chill coursed through Jake as the implications of Carter's words sank in. The remnants of his family dynamics frayed at the edges, like old fabric ready to unravel. He felt dizzy, suffocated by the weight of hidden truths that seemed to spiral from every corner. What are we supposed to do? Jake's voice trembled, barely above a whisper. It felt as if the world narrowed down to this precarious moment, teetering on the edge of a great unknown. Fight back, Ben declared with newfound conviction. We find the source of the darkness and end it. Together. Together? Jake echoed, a mix of disbelief and hope flooding him. He couldn't help but glance at the crowd, the faces old and new, filled with the same fear that loomed in his own heart. What if they couldn't? Yes, Ben insisted, his brow furrowed with determination. All of us. We need to unite against this, confront the truth, whatever it is. Lisa stepped up beside Jake, hands clenched into fists. Count me in. I don't care how deep this goes. We have to stand together. The crowd began murmuring excitedly. Eyes brightened, catching the flickers of determination, hearts pounding with a new purpose. Jake felt it too, an unexpected surge of strength. Then we'll start now, Jake said, feeling a resolve building deep inside him, but as the crowd united under this fresh promise, a shadowed figure remained outside the circle, eyes hidden beneath a hood. Tension rolled through the throng again, like ice through their veins. Carter smirked knowingly, stepping back slightly, his smile ever taunting, just wait, you'll see how far the rabbit hole really goes. Jake felt cold dread creep back in. What had they just stepped into? What lay ahead? As they prepared to face whatever was coming, fear buzzed in the air. Would they find the answers they sought? Or would they uncover a truth too horrific to bear? The tension hung heavily in the air, a taut wire ready to snap. Jake glanced at his mom and Ben, their faces a mix of concern and unwavering strength. It wasn't just about their family anymore, it was about everyone gathered, united against a past that refused to stay buried. Jake, his mom urged, her voice steady, you have to trust us. We can face this. But we need your voice, your anger directed the right way. Together, we can light the path. The words ignited something inside him, fueling his resolve. You're right. We can't let fear guide us anymore. Jake stepped in front of the crowd, his heart pounding but now filled with determination. We'll uncover the truth, and whatever it takes, we face it together. As he spoke, a ripple of agreement surged through the townsfolk, the fear of darkness giving way to burgeoning hope. Faces brightened with a sense of solidarity, ready to seize back not just their town but their lives. Carter watched from the sidelines, the amusement faded, replaced by an edge of disdain. Such naive bravado, he sneered. But remember, truths can be ugly. And once unleashed, there's no going back. Jake squared his shoulders, meeting Carter's cold gaze with defiance. Good. Then let us get this over with. You know something, and now's the time to share it. If you care about your precious secrets so much, let it all spill. We can start by finding out what you're holding back. The crowd pressed closer, emboldened by Jake's challenge and Lisa's fierce nod of support. Shifting the energy, the air buzzed with collective impatience. The men and women standing alongside him were no longer passive, they were ready to step into the shadow and embrace whatever light lay within the darkness. Carter stepped up as if weighing his options, his face a carefully crafted mask of mockery. All right, Jake. Let us peel back those layers together. It all goes back to the night your old mill burned. The word hung heavily, like a bell tolling multiple times, bringing forth what everyone had feared. Jake felt his heart race, memories of that night flooding back, anxiety that had never quite left him. What does that even mean? He demanded, a desperate edge creeping into his voice. Your family was involved in something bigger than you ever realized, Carter continued smoothly. The mill, it wasn't just about a business, it was your family's hub for a lot of the darkness that befell this town. Strange partnerships, shady deals. The fire didn't just take the mill, it took pieces of everyone connected to it. A low murmur rippled through the crowd, eyes darting back and forth. Are you saying we allowed our lives to burn? Someone shouted, shock and anger rising. Before Carter could respond, Ben tightened his fists. Tell that to the people who lost their families. What did you do? Carter grinned, relishing the discord. What did you expect? Truth is, you're all tangled up in this web of your own making. But truth doesn't have to be your enemy. Embrace it. Jake's heart sank at the implications. Everything he had clung to was being questioned and unraveled. Courage swelled inside him mixed with the fear of discovering what lay ahead, yet the town surged behind him, their strength echoing in his veins. No more lies. No more secrets. He shouted, his voice breaking through the despair. The townsfolk rallied behind him, breaking the heaviness with fervent shouts of unity. We deserve to know. We deserve to fight back. Jake turned to his family, locking eyes with his mom and brother. Their past tangled with the future they were all desperate to reclaim. Together, we take a stand. This stops now. A wave of energy flowed through the crowd, igniting hope. Jake could feel Lisa's hand in his, anchoring him as they faced Carter. The darkness whispered ominously around them, but now it felt like a call to action. We'll face whatever comes, shoulder to shoulder, and expose the truth, no matter how much it hurts together. The crowd's voices crescendoed around him, a choir of determination and courage blending into a singular force. The realization washed over them. They were no longer just a town, they were a family, bound by the scars of the past but united in the fight for the future. Carter stood still, for the first time caught off guard, as waves of hope crashed against his cynicism. The bravery seeping into the air could not be stifled. With a sudden roar of collective power, they thrust their defiance forward, pushing against Carter's veil of intimidation. We will dismantle whatever darkness you cling to, and emerge stronger from it. Jake boomed, the energy spiraled around them, and Jake felt a rush of lifting spirits, growing confidence, igniting the shadows until they flickered and faded. The weight of the past tangled within his heart was still there, but now it transformed into momentum, dazzling and fierce, their voices intertwined, stronger together. Shadows could only loom for so long before they faced the dawn of a new day. As Jake stood at the helm of their resolve, he understood that whatever the truth was, they were ready, together, to embrace it. Bring it on, he whispered, a smile breaking through the weight. Now the battle was set in motion, and their fight for truth had begun, but the question lingered in the air like the last breath of dawn. Would the discovery of the truth lead them to redemption or despair? This is the moment. You need to subscribe now to ensure you don't miss the next part of this gripping story. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help spread the spark of hope. Comment below with your thoughts on Jake's thrilling journey and what you're expecting to unfold. And don't wait not even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to be inspired by this incredible transformation. This community stands strong together.